Welcome back again. I had a short glitch there. Erased about 15 minutes of talk, and so you're spared of that 15 minutes. I'm going to try to recover that again. Now, we left off at the basic principles, the 4 basic principles, and now we're going to talk about the 7 basic rules of international humanitarian law in armed conflicts. These serve as the basis of the Geneva Conventions and the protocols. These rules are legally binding, but the 7 fundamental rules are the basis of the Geneva Conventions, and they encapsulize the whole body of the law of armed conflict, the humanitarian law under the Geneva Conventions. There's lots of material. I mean, there's a whole book on Geneva Conventions. There's 4 different Geneva Conventions and a lot of material. So this summarizes them, so it's in a sort of a manageable amount of material to give you the essence of what the rules are. So there are 7 of these fundamental rules of the law of armed conflict regarding the Geneva Conventions. And here are the 7, and we're going to go each one at a time. First of all, let me say that when you hear the term hors de combat, it's a French word which means you're out of commission. You're a combatant, you're a soldier, but you can't fight anymore. You're captured, you're deadly sick, or you're wounded and you can't fight. You've got no fight in you. You're called hors de combat. So someone who's no longer capable of fighting. You may be in a war camp, you may be in a hospital bed, you may be wounded on the battlefield. You are hors de combat, okay? So here's rule number 1. Persons hors de combat, such as wounded, sick, or captured, and those who do not take a direct part in hostilities are entitled to respect for their lives and their moral and physical integrity. They shall in all circumstances be protected and treated humanely without any adverse distinction. Rule number 1, okay. So, people who are hors de combat and those who do not take direct part in the hostilities, such as a clergyman or a doctor, these people are non-combatants in the sense that they're protected persons that cannot be attacked. Religious chaplains or medical doctors, nurses. These are people who are not able to be attacked, and their moral and physical integrity must be respected. They shall in all circumstances be protected and treated humanely without any adverse distinction. So if you come across your enemy's hospital tent and there are wounded soldiers in there, you can't just go in and kill everybody or disrupt the medical attention that's necessary, or rape the women, the nurses, or do anything like that, because these people are hors de combat, or they're protected persons, and their integrity and physical and moral integrity must be protected. And they are to be treated humanely. If you put them aside just to put them in a safe place, make sure they're not going to attack you, you have to treat them humanely. Okay, rule number 2. It is forbidden to kill or injure an enemy who surrenders or is hors de combat. So this is about enemy soldiers. It's forbidden to kill one or to even injure one who surrenders or who is hors de combat. So if they're deadly sick, can't fight, or they're wounded, can't fight, they're hors de combat, or they surrendered, you cannot kill them or injure them, period. And you can't give them the coup de grace, an extra bullet, because you think they're going to die anyway, so you just help them along. That's not permissible. Rule number 3, the wounded and the sick shall be collected and cared for by the party to the conflict which has them in its power. Protection also covers medical personnel, establishments, transports, and equipment. The emblem of the Red Cross or Red Crescent, which is used by Islamic countries, is the sign of such protection and must be respected. The Red Cross you see on the top of buildings, the side of hospitals, on the top of an ambulance, the side of an ambulance, a medic with his cross on his shoulder indicating he's a medic. That symbol is not there to tell people where you get treatment for wounds or where the medical people are. That means that person or that place is protected legally by the Geneva Conventions, and it cannot be attacked. So if you have a hospital with a Red Cross on top, planes going over it from the enemy cannot bomb it, because that would violate the respect due, because they're non-combatants in the medical realm, the doctors, the nurses, the people involved in the medical. Now, I don't want to get into what happens if the enemy soldiers use the hospital to hide their missiles or machine guns or whatever. I don't want to get into that, but it's not as clear as you can just bomb the heck out of it. So, let's just keep to the rules right now. Again, the wounded and the sick shall be collected and cared for by the party to the conflict which has them in its power. So if you are a victorious army and there's a battlefield and you've got your enemy soldiers and your soldiers, there's wounded there, you have an obligation, since they are under your power. You won this battle, you control this territory. You have an obligation to collect those people, and for those who are wounded, to get them to medical treatment. So once they are hors de combat because of their wounds, you must collect them and you must take them to where they can get medical treatment. That's humane protection and respect for their dignity. Okay? So you can't just leave them on the battlefield to rot or to die. You have to actively take care of them and collect them if military necessity allows you to do that, if military situation. If you're going to get shot, well, then that's a different situation. You wait till the battle's over, the coast is clear, then you do your collecting. Okay? Rule number four, captured combatants, this is the military, and the civilians under the authority of an adverse party, enemy civilians, are entitled to respect for their lives, their dignity, their personal rights and convictions. They shall be protected against all acts of violence and reprisals. They shall have the right to correspond with their families and to receive relief. So, captured combatants and any civilians that are with them, like an engineer, private contractor with them, they are all entitled to be treated with respect for their lives and dignity and personal rights and convictions. That means their religion. They shall be protected against all acts of violence and reprisals. Now, reprisals means an action you do against somebody else that you think did something wrong against the law of armed conflict. So you're going to teach him not to do that again. So you're going to do the same thing to him. That's a reprisal. Okay, so reprisals are generally not permitted except in limited circumstances, and I don't want to get into those. But you don't use captured people, like you've got these POWs over there, and since they wrongfully killed some of your soldiers, you're going to kill these POWs in this little pen over here just to get even with them. That's a reprisal. It's not permitted. Okay, rule number five, everyone shall be entitled to benefit from fundamental judicial guarantees. No one shall be held responsible for an act he has not committed. No one shall be subjected to physical or mental torture, corporal punishment, or cruel or degrading treatment. So, no one loses their legal personality on the battlefield. They still have rights. They have rights under the law of the country they're in. They may have rights based on the country they belong to. But they have fundamental rights, and they have right to judicial guarantees. And, of course, it's kind of difficult getting access to a court when you're having a battle going on, but you have a right to have your rights respected, whatever they are. No one shall be held responsible for an act he has not committed. This prohibits collective punishment, when you punish these people over here because of something someone else did over there. So, like they used to, if some resistance member would kill military officer in the town, assassinate them, then that power would choose 20 civilians and line them up in the square and say, okay, tell us who did this, or else we're going to kill all these 20 people, none of whom probably had anything to do with the assassination. That's called collective punishment. It is forbidden. It is wrong. It cannot be done. It's a war crime. Collective punishment. Okay, you cannot punish the father for the son, what a son did, the mother for what her daughter did, or anything else like that. No collective punishment. You can only punish those who have committed crimes, and you must allow them due process of law, some kind of process to have a fair adjudication of whether they did the act or not. You just don't decide that they're guilty of rape and then you shoot them because you've decided they've committed rape. Judicial guarantees must be respected, okay? No one shall be subjected to physical or mental torture, corporal punishment, like a whipping, or cruel or degrading treatment, stripping soldiers naked and parading them around and taking pictures of them. That would be degrading treatment. It would be a crime, an international crime. Number 6, parties to the conflict and members of their armed forces do not have an unlimited choice of the methods and means of warfare. That means that each party can't choose whatever weapons they want to use. Gas, phosphorus bombs, cluster bombs, nuclear bombs. You don't have a right to choose whatever weapons you want to use, and you don't have a right to attack in any way you want to attack and to do whatever it can. For example, you can't blow up a dam. You can't attack a nuclear power facility. So, parties to the conflict and members of the armed forces do not have an unlimited choice of methods and means of warfare. It is prohibited to employ weapons or methods of warfare of a nature to cause unnecessary losses or excessive suffering. So if you put some sarin gas in the air conditioning system of a building and it's killing people, if you use dum-dum bullets, if you use blinding lasers, all of these weapons would be committing unnecessary losses or excessive suffering. So you can only use weapons that will have a minimum, at a maximum, will neutralize the enemy person or object that you're fighting against. So you can only use the weapon that against another soldier that would be able to neutralize that soldier's position, get them hors de combat, so they can't fight anymore. Capture or wound, or you can kill in armed conflict. But you only kill if you have to kill, because you're going to be killed if they don't get killed. So the weapons and natures of the attack, the way you attack, you can't just start bombing everything around. There is no such thing as all-out war. It doesn't exist. It was gone in 1928 with the Kellogg-Briand Pact, where they annulled the concept of all-out war. Everything in the enemy's camp, civilians, military, doctors, priests, all this is subject to be killed. No, that's no longer the law. These principles of distinction and military necessity are what applies now. The 7th rule is that parties to a conflict shall at all times distinguish between the civilian population and the combatants, the military, in order to spare the civilian population and civilian property. Neither the